Everybody, it's Dr. Sam. If you want to know anything about how to improve your mind, your memory, your focus, all right, how to make more money, improving your sleep, your gut health, anything that's going to improve your performance, obviously with your health, but also in business, I've got this great interview that I did a few months ago with 𝗚𝗃 Guerriero. He's one of my favorite people. He's like a big brother to me. And he was actually one of my mentors, and he did this interview, and we did this a few months ago. And those are the topics that we cover. Any questions you have about these, about all the different topics we do cover, please list them below in the comment section. Just know that I rarely ever do interviews. So this is one of those rare opportunities to see me being interviewed, doing an interview, and it's one of my favorite people, 𝗚𝗃 Guerriero. He is a superstar, as far as, everything you want to know about business. We talk about performance, we talk about working out. This guy's awesome, and it was a treat for me, and hopefully it'll be a treat for you. His bio is underneath this video, so any information you want to know about him, his websites and everything, please take a look. Questions and comments you have, please post them below. I will do my best to answer them and make videos about maybe each of the specific topics that we covered in this video. I'll do specific ones about those. And as always, if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and do so and click the notification icon so you can be notified when your questions get answered and similar videos get released. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I wish you guys enjoy this interview with 𝗚𝗃 Guerriero. Thanks.
Hey, so we receive literally, I don't know, maybe hundreds of emails on the website and also on social media asking us about how to increase brain performance and cognitive performance as an entrepreneur. And that really goes deep into not just brain health, right? So that we could make the split-second decisions necessary during the course of a day, but also our physical well-being so that we look like a leader and we have the energy to do everything that we need to do, and also longevity so that we have the ability to enjoy growing businesses for a long time, decades to come, right? So I am super excited today because I've got a very good friend of mine, Dr. Sam Robbins, with us. And I go to him when it comes to anything related to brain health, supplements for performance, when it comes to cognitive performance or being able to do a little bit more in the gym so that I have a little bit more confidence so that when I stand in front of a board of directors meeting, I feel good about myself. So I'm excited. I don't know where this conversation is going to go, but we're going to have a really good time and you guys get a chance to eavesdrop. Sam, you ready, buddy?
I'm ready. Thanks.
So listen, I don't even know where to start because when you and I start talking, we just kind of like vomit up some really great gold when it comes to this. And we've said it probably 100 times that we should probably record some of our conversations. So I want to start, if it's okay with you, like just kind of let's peel the onion deep. Like let's go really top layer first. Like what do you do? Because like actually before we get started, I want to just mention one of the reasons why I wanted to have this interview today is because you're not just really knowledgeable about nutrition and kinesiology and hormonal health, but you're an entrepreneur. Like you've built multiple companies. You just recently exited a company. Like you live the same exact lifestyle that I and every single one of our viewers live. Like you're literally in the grind every single day, growing your business and trying to increase your reach so that you could hit more audience members with your message. So you're there and you are consistently performing at your top and looking kind of younger every freaking year I've known you.
It's all white now.
Well, yeah, you're whiter today. Outside of the gray, you're looking fucking great. So let's talk top layer. Like, what do you do to make sure that you're performing at your best?
So the first thing anyone listening to this is you have to have your goals, right? Is your, what Chris just talked about, for me, it's always, my goal has always been health, right? So anything I do has to be just physical health, but also mental and emotional health. So when I started all this stuff, and as far as just cognition, I started my own business in late 95, right? And I needed money to get through school and all that stuff. So I started my own internet business. And I was literally burning the candles on both ends. I hate to say it, I was taking uppers and downers to sleep and wake up. I was going through school. I had morning and night. I was working nights and weekends. And when you're young, you can do whatever you want, right? It's like, I know guys who are like, I got drunk the night before till 4 a.m., went and bought a killer bike ride, for work at 6 a.m. You can't do that when you get older. So for me, I just realized I couldn't do that. My sleep is still messed up. So I remember, in fact, people talk about biohacking. I would sit in like one of my medical classes and I would be focused as much, I would take caffeine and all that stuff and I'd be focused and focused and focused. And then minutes later, I'm like, oh man, that chick's hot. My brain would like go there. I'd be thinking about working out. I'd think about that. And all of a sudden at the end of class, the guy's like, don't forget, test on Friday. I'm like, what just happened? Like, where did I go? And then this is like right before the internet was really picking up. And I started learning about nootropics and like things like piracetam and hydrogen and all that stuff. And I honestly don't even know how I got my hands on it because I didn't order anything on the internet. And I used to get it from Europe. I started taking this stuff. And then I just realized one day I listened to the entire class without zoning out. And it wasn't like I took Adderall like they do now or caffeine. I just like really focused. I'm like, wow, this stuff really works. So long story short, I played around with a lot of that stuff, the original biohackers, and a lot of my clients were bodybuilders. So they hack with all their hormones and everything. But the whole point with all this is what's your goal? So for me, if you want energy and, for me to run all the businesses, you wear different hats during the day, and if you have kids or whatever it is, you have to be like working, like kicking ass. I'm doing this interview, and later on an employee might ask something. I can't be like, yeah, do this, do that, because the employee might be like, hey, what's going on? So you have to always have the mindset of, hey, Joe, really, thanks for doing this. And it takes different mindset to constantly grind through the different personalities and different hats you wear, and whether you're being creative or doing all this stuff. And that has to do with also your diet, right? And working out. A lot of you guys may not be working out, or you're working out incorrectly. For example, I used to work out late at night. And when you do that, you're jacked up, your nervous system, and you can't sleep. So we can talk about all the different things you can do as far as this, that, and the other thing, but it takes a little bit of balance. I know a lot of people take, modafinil, Provigil, and I actually had that stuff synthesized for me like 20 plus years ago. And I'm like, oh, this stuff's awesome. And it just burns you out. Remember, modafinil has like a 15, 16-hour half-life. Even caffeine has like a 5 or 6 hour half-life. So you guys like downing 200-300 cups of 200-300 milligrams of caffeine, that stuff goes all through the night, and it's going to ruin your sleep. Despite guys thinking, oh, you just take it and sleep, you're not sleeping well. So for me, energy starts at night, right? Getting that good sleep, and what you do first thing in the morning and throughout the day, and having goals and organizing everything so you're not scattered. I know, like for me, I keep everything to 60 to 90 minutes. And then I restart. I take breaks. I drink water. Hydration's a big thing. So I know I just went off on a huge tangent. So I'll let you interject whatever you want.
I don't think that was a tangent. I think that was the top layer of the freaking onion, because like we can't do anything without a decent night of sleep. And we should define decent, because I'm able to perform and do a lot in my businesses, and I sleep like shit a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So it is decent. Like I've got to, I personally do things, and maybe we could talk a little bit about this either now or sometime as we're talking today. But I do a lot of things that I call forced relaxation, because if I'm not sleeping well at nighttime one night, then I have a list of things that I will do. I will force myself to get a massage if I sleep really bad 1 or 2 nights in a row. Even if I don't, I'm going to do that at least once a week. But there's a list of things, like I'll meditate a little bit, and there's different kinds of meditation, even if it's 10 or 15 minutes, even if it's just listening to a progressive relaxation audio. I don't care. I need something in order to, and I know there's science behind it, and maybe you know about it, but there's a state of mind that you can get yourself into with meditation or with a good progressive relaxation audio that literally allows your brain to go through that cycle of cleaning, which you have to do at nighttime. Like nighttime is the time that your brain shrinks just a little bit, which allows this fluid in there. I'm talking in complete lay terms because I don't know any of the scientific terms. And it cleans away the fatigue and all the other kind of good shit that slows down your brain. If you don't have that, because you don't sleep 6, 7, 8 hours straight, which I don't, then you don't have that. that thorough cleansing. So during the day, I'll do the meditation, or I'll do massage therapy, or I've got a list of other little hacks that I personally like that help me to maybe make up. I realize anybody who's on sleep hates it when I say make up for sleep. But I mean, as entrepreneurs, we have to perform no matter what every single day.
Yeah. So we can talk about how to improve sleep. That's a big thing. Look, I'm not a good sleeper. I've never been a good sleeper. My mom says as a child, true story, she'd be like, as a baby, she's like, okay, this guy's got to sleep. He's got to grow. And I wouldn't. She's like, you just be up. I'd fall asleep and you'd be awake. I'd wake up, your baby's awake. She's like, something's got to be wrong. So she took her to the doctor. Mind you, this is in the old country. And the doctor's like, oh, take these drops. Kid will sleep like a baby. And my mom said for the next week, I was like, boo. She's like, something's wrong with my kid. She said, if God doesn't want you to sleep, then I'm not going to do it. So I've never been a good sleeper, but that's me. I know girlfriends I've had, they don't sleep, they hibernate. Oh, I slept 9-10 hours tonight. Like nothing wakes them up. I'm like, what's going on? And that again has hormones. I've always been high testosterone, high dopamine driven. I don't have like that high serotonin. If I take anything to improve serotonin levels, I actually get emotional, right? And I don't want that. So we're driven, all right? I don't know if it's mainly what our audience is, mainly guys are that. I'm very dopamine driven. You got to be dopamine driven. You got to be going. Dopamine, they say, is a pleasure chemical, but it's also like you wanting to do more of the good stuff. So for me to improve sleep, let's just assume you don't get a good night's sleep. We'll talk about how to improve sleep. You have to take breaks throughout the day. First thing you can do is just get up in the morning, like I've always have. I get up and I go take a walk outside. I take my supplements and snack. And now I've got a puppy, so I take her for a walk. But just going outside, even if I'm like, I just go and I get some sun, 10, 20, 30 minutes. And at that time, I'm not necessarily working because I don't want to get my brain all angry with work. I will listen to something cool, or maybe a YouTube, or maybe music, or I might call my mom, something mellow. If talking to someone is going to be mellow, and just get your brain about what I want to do and why I want to do. And today's going to be a good day regardless. And I come back, I have a meal at that point, but if you don't want to eat, that's totally cool. But you don't take your caffeine and uppers and all that right time, because let your body naturally create its own dopamine, get your cortisol levels to go up in the morning. That's what gets you going. Then maybe a couple hours later, you can have your cup of coffee. I know you're like, oh, how am I going to get even the morning? Trust me, that's your morning thing. Get out, move, exercise, get some sunlight. That's the first thing you can do. And throughout the day, take little breaks. I go for walks throughout the day, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. I have a massage chair. Now I know Chris just said, get a massage. And some people are like, I can't afford a massage. I don't have time for that. That's cool. I get it. But you can't work like 8 hours straight, because your mind starts to wander, okay? And you may not know it. It's like going to the gym. You can't work out for 3 hours straight. About 45 to 60 minutes, you start to zone out. And they always say, like, how do I build like that weak body part? Do it at the beginning of the workout rather than the end, because at the beginning of there, you're focused. So do the important stuff, at the beginning, take 60 to 90-minute breaks, drink water. Most of you are not drinking enough water. And taking caffeine dehydrates even more. Water is so important. Drinking anything else doesn't count. I mean, maybe some tea or this and that. Drink your water, take multiple breaks throughout the day. Also, food matters. Are you taking essential fats? Are you taking, right amount of protein? I know some of you also like this whole carnivore diet or keto diet and all that stuff. I get tons of energy from that. It's not good energy necessarily. It's your adrenaline going up. Your cortisol level is going up because you're on survival mode right now. I haven't eaten for 12 hours and I feel great. Yeah, your body's on survival mode. I'm not saying go high carbs or any of that, but you need some carbohydrates. Carbohydrates fuels your brain. I know you can be on a keto diet, take MCT oil, but it's not nearly the same, all right? Your brain likes glucose, just regardless of what anybody says. When you work out, it requires that. Also, working out earlier in the day gets you energized. I said, I used to work out late at night. I'm like, gee, why can't I sleep? So try not to work out too late in the day. If you can't take a nap is like 15, 20, 30 minutes. Like, I can't nap, just lay down. Listen to something, just close your eyes. Because remember, your body's a self-healing, self-cleaning organism. So like Chris said, at night, your brain takes a dump if it's sleeping well, okay? If you're not take that dump at night, quote unquote, for your brain to improve memory and cognition and all that, take it throughout the day. Meditation, if you can do it. I'm not so good at it. But for me, meditation might be just to put something in your ear, close your eyes with a mask, and just detach from all of life's BS. That to me improves it. Plus, when you come out of it, you're in a better mood. You're not going to be all aggressive and angry and short-tempered. You're not going to yell at your girlfriend or boyfriend or your kick the dog or whatever it is, right? You're going to be in a much better mood. And you're going to get a lot more done being in that positive mood. Especially if you're running a big company, you have to have that positive mood for your employees, for your system and all that. Because at the end of the day, you're a leader and they look up to you. And if you're always angry, they're going to take it personally. Because being a leader at this level, you got thicker skin. Okay, you can take shit, oh, whatever. When you're a leader, you take responsibility for everything. Everything suddenly goes like, all right, it's my freaking problem, all right? Where employees like, not my problem, so-and-so did it, this and that. So they take everything personally. Being in a good mood or a positive mood or taking breaks. They always say, if you write an email or whatever, take a break before you send it. I've taken breaks. Hours later, I'm like, the next day I'm like, what am I doing, dude? I'm such a jerk. Why was I even thinking that? Also, just a quick note, one of my employees, Ali, he's in another country. He's such a sweetheart of a guy. And sometimes he just doesn't pay attention to details. I remember like a couple of times I replied back, I'm like, what the F, dude? Why aren't you listening to this thing? The entire website just shut down. Why aren't you double checking your work? And I sent it to him, and literally 5 minutes later, because I'm hypersensitive, I sent back, I'm like, hey man, I'm sorry, I yelled at you. It's just like, I expect more from you. This isn't like you. And it negatively affected the business. Can you please double check? And again, I'm very sorry about that. He replied back and said to me, like, I remember vividly, he's like, look, you're like my older brother, and I understand what you're going through. And thank you for saying that. It soothed his heart, and I felt better, and I didn't have regret. I can be like, oh, who cares? He works for me. Nobody works for you. They work with you. And if you mistreat someone, life is about going into someone's life and making sure they're better than the way you left off. It's easy to be a jerk. It's hard to be positive. It's easy to react versus act. And when you're low energy and you're angry and your cortisol levels are up and stress hormones, you didn't sleep and the whole world against you. Because look, I've been on this for 25 plus years. Every day is like a problem. People would say, hey, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a firefighter. I put out fires all day long. So you have to be very strong to deal with that. And you can't do that if you're physically, mentally, and emotionally drained. If you're not sleeping, eating, resting, if you're not working out right. The best thing you can do is work out, is exercise. But we can get to that a little bit later.
Yeah, listen, we could flow directly into that, but I want to say something about a couple of things that you pointed out, which I thought were really, really well worth touching upon again. First of all, being a jerk in business, it really is very much indicative, at least in my life, of the amount of sleep I got, the kind of food I'm eating that day, or even the previous day, how hydrated I am. That's a huge one, right? Dehydration. I don't make decisions as quickly, or I don't think them through, put it that way. And it's noticeable. So I really do focus very heavily on these things now. So even on nights that I don't get good sleep, my hydration is spot on. Like throughout the course of the day, I'm going through, on a bad day, it's a half a gallon of water. On a good day, it's a little bit more than a gallon of water. And I'm putting electrolytes into the water. So I'd love to pick your brain on what you believe as far as electrolytes go. But also the food, like I'll be quite honest with you, a crappy meal. Like if I let the team go out and buy lunch for us and I don't specifically say, like, I don't want fast food, like I won't eat. I literally won't eat it when they bring it here because I know the impact that fried foods or like a hamburger from not a really good grass-fed hamburger, but a hamburger from some place that my team might get. I know what that does, and I'm really blessed that most of the people who I surround myself with, they don't eat that kind of stuff. Like the culture inside of every company that I'm part of, the culture is around being happy, being healthy, right? Sharing with everybody else. So So it really does attract people who want to eat good foods, and they're not drinking Coca-Cola at their desk. They're, everybody's got water bottles at their desk. Maybe it's because we fill the freaking water with the refrigerator with a whole bunch of different kinds of fresh water, right? Like, I'm definitely trying to influence them. I don't have free Coca-Cola and Sprite in the refrigerator. I have free waters. But anyway, so let's go.
Let's pause on that for a second. You can only do something if it becomes a habit. By the way, look, we all get weak. And when you're tired and grumpy, I guarantee you, I have incredible discipline, more than 99% of the world. And I don't even have cravings. But man, when I feel like crap, there's like candy, and I don't even crave sugar. I will eat it. And guess what? Once you start eating it, dopamine goes up. It's like crack cocaine. I'm like, I start craving it even more. Next thing I'm like, man, I just ate like that whole bowl. So remove junk out of your way and replace it with good stuff. Look, you can make this whole big thing of water and make it taste good too. You can put a little stevia in there. You can put whatever you want, not necessarily sugar. You put a little lemon juice to alkalize your body and all that stuff. And then, you can put electrolytes. I actually put a little bit of L-glutamine because it also kills your appetite if you tend to do that. And just drink it. If it's there, you'll do it. Okay, if it's there, you'll do something. If the gym is like right there, you'll do it. If the gym is an hour and a half away, you won't do it. Look, I have multiple gym memberships. One of them is Gold's Gym. It's the original one in Venice. I love going there. It's only 3 miles away from me. But dude, if I go at the wrong time of the day, seriously, it's 30 to 45 minutes, just 3 miles away. There's so much traffic. And I'm like, oh, it's not even worth it. However, I got gyms, 2 of them walking distance or whatever. I'll just go there and I'm like, well, it's better than nothing. So if something is easy, even the greatest relationships you'll have, if it's close to you, you'll do it. If it's your girlfriend, the chick you're dating, she's super hot and all this, you got to drive an hour every day to see her, it's not going to work. So convenience and ease makes a huge difference. So make your life easy by putting good stuff in front of you and removing the bad stuff. And that also includes people. Nothing is going to drain you emotionally like bad people. There's nothing wrong with being negative and venting, but not when someone keeps talking about the same, it's no longer a challenge, it's a problem when you keep talking about them. Some people are just negative, and that's fine. Disassociate with them. Over the years, I've gotten rid of like 90% of people in my life. And at first I'm like, no, I've known this person for so long and this and that, or their family. I got rid of them and I feel no remorse. My life is 100 times better. And I always give this analogy of they're like weed. Weeds grow anywhere all the time. You can walk on the sidewalk and there's weeds growing out of the freaking sidewalks. There's no fertilizer, there's no water, nothing, and it grows. But trying to make a rose bush grow, everything's got to be just right. So cultivate, if you're going to spend your time or money, or forget it. Time and money, I'll do it. But you have limited amounts of heartbeats, literally heartbeats before you die. Why waste your heartbeat on someone bad or a negative situation or even negative thoughts? Okay, worrying about the past is in the past. Okay, that's going to make you depressed. Worrying about the future is going to give you anxiety. Prepare and learn from the past and prepare for your future. We're trying to live in the moment, which is really hard for us entrepreneurs, for me. I was always like, literally, if I'm working, I'm like, oh, why aren't I out with my friends? Everyone's having a good time, this, that, and the other thing. And I'd be out with a girl, even like during sex. I'm like, I got to be doing this. Why did I do that email? It's like, where are you? I'm like, it's so hard to stay focused. The only time I'm honestly very, very focused is my meditation time, and that's at the gym. Oh, yeah. And I used to run. I remember even running into Arnold Schwarzenegger at Gold's, and he mentioned something like meditation was when I work out. And I said, do you believe that? I was like, oh, I love it. Every day I get up, and sometimes twice a day I work out. It's like my time to redo everything. And I believe it. It's the only time. And I'm listening to music. I'm just doing my own thing. No one bothers me. It's my time away. I don't check the freaking phone. Like all of you are like obsessed with your phone. Okay? Let it go, man. That phone does nothing for you. It's like money. Don't let the money control you. You control the money. Okay? Don't let the phone control you. Use that to help you. Don't let the phone control you. Oh, someone just sent me a text. I better reply back. Are you like a cardiologist? Are you about to do heart surgery on someone? You don't need it. I have girlfriends or something. They're constantly checking your phone. I'm like, dude, I'm having a conversation with you. Can you focus? Oh, this and that. I'm like, really? Is that on TikTok you're looking at? Is that on this? All that stuff is designed to suck your energy, which is good for Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and all that, but it's not good for you.
Right.
Use it to learn. Don't use it to suck up all your time, which you get drained afterwards. And you're like, man, I'm tired. And you're not going to do work. Do your work and use that as for entertainment or learning. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, listen, we could go on. I loved it, and I'm gonna try not to feed it, because I think that we could go on and on and on and on and on about emotions and how they literally create a chemical reaction in your body that screws up your ability to perform well, right?
Yeah.
So I think it is vital that you touched on that, and
just real quick, everything you do, I always tell people, is genetics and hormones. Okay. Yep. Being positive, they say, is 50% genetics. Okay. Look, my brother's a happy-go-lucky guy. All right. He's always laughing. He's older than me, 15 years. He's awesome. Great heart. He's always like giggling, and he's like on YouTube laughing with my mom. Like, what the F, dude? What is so funny? And he's just that dude can sleep 9 hours.
Yeah.
He's just a happy-go-lucky guy. Yet my mom's like, you were always focused, this, that. I never told you what to do as a child. That's my genes, all right? I'm not this happy-go-lucky guy. I'm not like ignorance is bliss. That's not me. So everything is genetics. What can you do? What you can't do? You got to know your strengths and weaknesses. Okay, so like maybe Chris and I aren't the best sleepers. So we need to optimize other things we do during the day and really focus on sleep. Or literally, I had my cousin who is a urologist, super smart guy. That guy can sleep in and out anytime. I was just talking to him once in the car. He's like, I'm like, what's going on, dude? He's like, I need to go to bed right now. I'm like, what? Like, how do you? He's like, I can't. I got to go right now. And I'm like, Jesus, what's going on with this guy? That's his ability to sleep anywhere. I don't have that. So I need to like really make sleep a priority. I need to make rest a priority. While someone else might be like, hey, bro, what's going on? They're easy breezy, and you're not going to be successful being easy breezy with anything.
Yeah.
For me, everything is urgent. So you have to see what works for you. If you're not the urgent person, you need to make goals, this and that. I'm naturally a goal guy, take care of things. So again, genes and hormones matter. That's why men are more driven than women. That's why as you get older, the testosterone drop. You're not as driven. By the way, testosterone increases dopamine, estrogen increases serotonin, blah, 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 all these different things. So you need to work with that. And by the way, that whole epigenetics means your diet, your exercise, all that affects your hormones. And again, at the end of the day, if you can't change your genetics, at least you can improve your hormones and your neurotransmitters with all the things you do, whether it's supplements or drugs or diet and exercise, always has to be the foundation. Work on that to improve it. Don't use, oh, my genetics suck. Like, you know, I've got a friend who's like, I'm big bone. Like, I didn't ask you to be shredded, but you can definitely lose 30 pounds, bro. Anyhow.
So the passion is amazing. Hey, you said something about glutamine before, so let's go back to that really quickly, because I think it's there's a lot of different layers to what we're going to be talking about. A lot of it has to do with 30,000 foot view, but I want to also get very specific with take home value. Like I put glutamine into my water also. It's not been that long that I've been doing this, maybe a year or so. But I've been putting multiple, bunch of scoops into my gallon of water, because I'll make it in a whole gallon and make sure that I get through that at least one of those during the course of the day, at least on a good day. But I was doing it because of the benefit to gut health. What are you doing it for? Are there other benefits of glutamine?
So I used to overtrain a lot, overtraining because the workouts, because genetically I'm burning all the time. My body is like a Lambo, burns through stuff. For me, I can't do these 2-hour workouts because I'm sluggish and my metabolism is slow. And I need to do I need to go. That's my thing. And I used to burn out all the time. So I remember back in the day, this was a long time ago, that people who would lose weight and have poor immune system and all this, AIDS people, they used to give them a lot of glutamine. I'm like, well, shit, it's good for AIDS people. It's good for me. So I used to add a little bit of glutamine and improve my gut health. My immune system shot up. And ironically, just killed all my sugar cravings.
Oh,
so
wow.
I've been doing that. So I tell people, hey, you want to improve, you kill your sugar cravings right there. And it does improve gut health. it totally boosts my immune system. It's like the number one amino acid in your gut and all that when your immune system gets, drops. So it sucks it all in. The other thing, putting a little bit of lemon juice and all that, helps that. Now let's take probiotics. I never think, oh, probiotics, I heard of that. I was taking it a billion years ago. And only because I used to have white spots on my skin, and that's fungus. And I found out 𝗜𝗺 𝗵𝗂 and bacteria. So they would give me antibiotics and all that. It killed all the bacteria, then this and that. And then so I found out I can't have a lot of yeast. I can't have mushrooms, all that. That's my genes. And then at the same time, my chiropractor said, you take some probiotics. And back then I used to take Jarrow, and it was like it had 1 million probiotics. I'm like, oh my God. Now it's like 60 trillion, right? Yeah. So I was taking that way back in the day. Now I take one in the morning, one at night, 2 different companies. You should mix and match them. And obviously they say taking, fermented food is even better because it's more natural. So if you can't take it, whether it's, sauerkraut, but it's got to be made correctly. A lot of the people, centurions, who live a long time, they have like yogurt. Now, I don't do well with dairy. So taking natural probiotics, pills are fine. Someone's like, hey, do you have a probiotic pill? I said, no, I don't. Because there's so many different strains of bacteria. I don't want to rip someone off and say this, that, and the other thing. Take it, it's good, but I'd much rather you had fermented food, right? I can't say, oh, take this for glutamine naturally, right? I can't say, like, I take a lot of fish oil. I take like 8 grams a day. I could tell you, go have a lot of fish. Some people don't like fish. There's all this junk in the ocean. So maybe you get sick. Some stuff, supplement. Some stuff, better to get it from natural fruits if you can. And so take the glutamine, take some probiotics, take some prebiotics. Fiber is very good. Fiber naturally creates both pre and probiotics from your stomach because, again, all that fermentation in the stomach. Eat some vegetables. For me, I don't do well with vegetables. So honestly, I take like psyllium husk. I know it's as stupid as it sounds. It's cheap and it works.
So yeah, but if we want to combine them all, right? Let's give some examples. You said yogurt or kefir. I get that. I don't do those. Sauerkraut made well. We always have really well made fermented sauerkraut. Kimchi is another great one. They say pickles, but I'm not like I think you really go wrong with pickles because there's so many commercial ones that have like really so much crap in them. But what other things would you suggest as far as fermented foods that would really kick up that?
I think
those prebiotics and probiotics.
Yeah, I mean, I think inulin is a prebiotic powder you can get. Ultimately, I can tell you what to do, but are you going to do it? Right? If I told someone like eat fish, or I'm going to throw up, then you're not going to do it. So take one of these, fermented foods, but it's got to be done right. I remember buying all the sauerkraut, and then I found it wasn't made properly. I'm like, so this stuff doesn't have anything,
right?
And I think it's Bubbly or Boobly or one of these companies. And I remember this guy saying, hey, all the juice of it, that's where all the probiotics. I'm like, oh, really? So I was like drinking. I'm like, this tastes pretty good. And I literally, guys, swear to God, I was out on a date. I'm like, oh, something's not right with my belly. It's like, what's wrong? And I went home and I was like, where the hell this happened? I'm like, oh shit, it was because I was drinking it right to it. And that's how powerful it is. So it was made right. It has to be in the refrigerator. Even the probiotic, I put it in the refrigerator.
Right.
So it's live. So take some fiber. So what do? I take the, there you go. Make the big thing of water. I put some stevia in there. I put lemon juice in there. I put some glutamine. You can put, salt, a little bit of potassium, magnesium throughout the day, whatever you want. I just put salt on my food. If you have high blood pressure, trust me, drink more water. Also the salt, I take, Himalayan sea salt, whatever. I'm not sure if it makes that big of a difference, but all the main salt comes from all the processed foods you eat. If you look at all that extra salt. So I do that. I drink it. In the morning, I take one probiotic, and at night I take another one. And at night I also take maybe 5 or 6 capsules of the fiber of the psyllium husk, because in the morning, and I keep it simple. Mm-hmm. Remember, the simpler it is. When I was young, everything was complicated. Take this before, take that after, take this in the morning. And at the end, 80-20 rule, right? Just keep it simple and basic so you can adhere to it long term. Yeah. Especially where we're entrepreneurs, we got a million things going on. If you make it complicated, you're not going to stick to anything.
Yeah, I agree 100%. let's go into, let's get into something that I believe is one of your favorite subjects, which is nutrients. You know, fun nutrients that either you have tested, or you use, or you specifically think nobody should use, but everybody does use, you know, for performance, like whether that is cognitive performance, you know, brain health, or physical performance, so that they burn fat, gain muscle, whatever the heck it is.
Right. So just understand, whatever goes up comes down.
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to screw around, you know, I have people taking modafinil every day. I'm like, you know, you burn out your system. Okay. Caffeine, you burn out your system. Like, I'll take nicotine. I've been doing that for a long time, but I don't have an addictive personality. I can take grams of nicotine all day long in the form of candy, or, you know, the lozenges or whatever. I'm fine. I just get off. Some people, apparently they get, you know, super addicted to it, where I think most of the addiction comes in the cigarette. Nicotine is the reason I like nicotine is it's good for the brain. It reduces Alzheimer's and all that stuff. And I got on my dad's side of the family, but it's in and out of your system in about an hour or two.
Well,
versus,
would you mind if I interrupt you real quick?
Yeah.
I have a real good buddy who is very much into what is now called biohacking, right? I mean, you and I have been doing this since we were kids, and then nobody ever called it biohacking. It was just like trying stuff out so that we could be better and do more of what we want to do. But he's constantly chewing on nicotine gum. And this dude, I mean, his brain fires like this in a good way. I have never, ever, like in my entire life, I had one puff of one cigarette and then threw it the heck away. There was a year in my life where I smoked cigars because I thought that was, you know, fun and cool, and it was awesome. Yeah. And, but, you know, I also smelled like somebody took a
horrible
shit the whole time.
Yeah.
Cigars have such a horrible smell. But outside of that, like nicotine's never entered my body. So what is the good and the bad and the ugly as far as nicotine goes? And how would you take it? Because you said you take it.
I just take the lozenges, because I don't know what happens with the gum, the chewing, you know. And by the way, when you chew, it creates stomach acid. Right. It tells your body that you're so for a lot of people, you don't want all that extra, you know, like non-associative stomach acid, because your body's like creating it. It's like, hey, are we eating or not eating? So you don't want to trick the body that way. Sure. Also, you know, the jaw, you don't want your jaw to be working that much. Okay. I remember my chiropractor was like, oh, it's so tense, because I used to chew gum all the time. So I just take the lozenges. I remember I think it was Dr. 𝗵𝗺𝗃𝗍, or maybe it was someone else. I totally respect these guys. Like, you have to be careful because, you know, a cigarette has 1 gram of nicotine. I'm like, it does? I look, it's got 10 to 15 to 20 grams of nicotine. So when I take one of those nicotine things, it's only like 1 or 2 milligrams. Okay. So if I'm having 2 milligrams, 2 or maximum 3 times a day, that's still only quote unquote half of a cigarette or a quarter of a cigarette. But see how you feel. Start with just, you know, you can get those 2 milligram lozenges. I would only take a half. By the way, as much as on my backgrounds in pharmacology and drugs, you have to understand drugs are super powerful. Always start with the lowest dose and see how your body reacts. The goal is to get the most out of the least amount. Why? Because later on your body will adapt. You're going to need to up the dose. Start with that, you know, not at night, but like, for example, if you're doing an interview, you got this thing going on, do it and you'll be sharp, but just don't do it all the time just for the sake of doing it. Because you don't want to become emotionally addicted to something as a clutch, if that makes sense. So, or crutch, I should say.
So the value that you get from it is a little bit more sharpness in your ability to then connect thoughts quicker.
Yeah. And also, you know, for those of you, it is a good weight loss product. Not only does it improve dopamine and all this, it also lowers estrogen. You know, in the old days, for an aromatase inhibitor, if you couldn't afford it, this is like 20 plus years ago, you would just take a lot of nicotine. So that's also one reason people smoke a lot are thinner, because it curbs your appetite, increases dopamine, and it lowers your estrogen level. So, you know, a lot of people tend to have high estrogen, but yeah, I don't really notice it much. You have to understand, I don't notice much of anything because maybe my system is so fine-tuned, nothing's broke. You know, it's like you take your Lambo fine, you know, to the mechanic every month, you're not going to see that huge performance. You take it once a year, you drive like, oh man, what happened?
Yeah.
So mine's already fine-tuned. I just take a little bit here and there. Before my workouts, for example, I'll take 50 milligrams of caffeine, 50. You take 5-hour energy, it's 300 milligrams. You take these pre-workout stuff, it's like 400 milligrams plus a ton of other uppers.
Would never.
I just take 50 milligrams around noon or 1, and I work out around like 1 or 2 because I got to do work during the day. I wish as much as I could work out earlier in the day, I just can't. And I'm like, oh my God, I only take it 3 or 4 times a week. I don't know how these guys are popping pills all day long or drinking coffee and they don't feel it because your body gets used to it.
Yeah.
The worst thing you can do is burn out your adrenals, your adrenergic receptors. You become insensitive. And once you burn that out, honestly, life isn't good anymore. You're not as happy anymore. I used to burn out my stuff and I wouldn't laugh as much. Your sex drive is down. Everything like, God, what's going on? I used to then not work out, take a few days off, get all of a sudden like, because your body becomes desensitized to anything. So don't take uppers all the time and maybe rotate them. You know, take a little bit of nicotine here and there, take a little bit of caffeine here and there, you know, matcha tea or whatever, just a little bit of mixing it up. If you get too hyped up, take some L-theanine, a lot of things, but don't take the same thing all the time because you have to keep upping the dose. It's just not going to work. Like, why do something if it's not going to work? Just, I'd rather you rotate them.
Yeah. So does L-theanine, L-theanine I know works with coffee. For a long time, this is years back, you know, I was in the health club industry, I think, as you know, for over a decade. Well, I sold that company in 2004. Shortly, I went online right before that, to give you an idea. But back in the health club industry, man, I would down coffee. Like, we had the big coffee makers back then in the clubs, and I always kept my salespeople like highly caffeinated. Like, we always had lots of caffeine in there. Theanine, I got introduced to theanine back then because it really took away jitters from coffee. Like, you would drink coffee but you would take theanine, so it would be more of a laser focus as opposed to, you know, sitting there shaking.
Jitterness,
Does theanine work the same with nicotine?
No, because it's a different mechanism, you know. Well, so even, by the way, a lot of these supplement companies will add taurine in there and L-theanine and jack up the caffeine. And what happens is you get that, but you don't get the jitterness, you're focused, and you keep drinking or doing more the, you know, uppers, the 5-hour, all that stuff. Before they added that, you would get jacked. You're like, man, I can't take any more of this stuff. They're like, how can we get this guy to consume more? Okay, so they reduce some of the jacked up feeling. And so that's how it was. And L-theanine is naturally in like green tea or stuff. You know, if you want the truth, tea is quote unquote healthier than coffee, but it doesn't matter either way. You know, take that. But, you know, look, I've got an energy product, you already know, it's called Body Brain Energy, and that's designed as a nootropic. It's got all these things that I balance it out, because it's not just like, you know, adrenergic receptors, it's dopamine, it's improving lots of different factors, including mitochondria is a huge one. I've been taking CoQ10 for like 15, 20 years. And on a side subject, I found out CoQ10, you know, mitochondria, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, wait, it's good for muscles? Done. So instead of taking 100, I took 400, 600 milligrams, and you feel awesome. You literally feel good. You're like, yeah, cool, man. Anything can be done. You don't get jittery. And I used to give it to my mom. And I remember my sleep wasn't good, but I'm like, I don't even need to sleep. I feel great, man. You know, it gets my body is at a zenith right now. And I just asked my mom, like, how you feeling? She's like, pretty good, but my eyes hurt. I'm like, why? She's like, well, I'm not sleeping at night. And I think they're just really dry. I'm like, why aren't you sleeping at night? She's like, well, ever since I've been taking CoQ10. I'm like, that's a jacks up your system. So I started lowering the dose, and then I could sleep finally. So that's how powerful CoQ10 is, improving mitochondria. Just don't overdo it. By the way, here's another fact. I take maybe 30 milligrams or 50 milligrams at the most. CoQ10 is just enough to give me energy, but not keep me up at night. Now that I'm old, I have to take 100 or 150 milligrams to get the same feeling. That's the other part with getting old. Things don't work as well. So when you're young, take the least amount, okay? But all these little factors go into optimizing your health. It's, you know, the less you can take stimulants, the better, only because you don't want adrenal burnout or overstimulation, because your body will just become less and less sensitized to everything. That means your workouts won't be as good. You won't be as happy because dopamine won't be released as much. So that's the other factor.
Yeah. So things that we could do to increase dopamine, right? And naturally, like I used to be really good friends with a woman who used to say, "Oh my God, don't do anything that screws with your dopamine, because it's like the most sensitive part of your system, and you screw with that and you'll be screwed up for the rest of your life." But there's a lot of things that naturally that enhance the health of different areas of your body, that then allow your body to not only produce the right amount of dopamine, but utilize the right amount of dopamine, right? Because, and we should talk about that, not just with dopamine, but with everything else. There's a huge difference. There's so many huge differences I have found, at least in my studies, when it comes to performance of your body's ability to create something and your body's ability to utilize that something, number one. Number two, when people are measuring things like you and I know, I mean, I get blood tests on a regular basis just because I'm a freak and I like to know what the heck is going on inside my body and what kind of, you know, often when I'm working a lot, I want to see if that's throwing off my numbers, the markers inside my blood. And what I've learned through a lot of this is that it's not nearly as important to understand what's in your blood as it is what's being absorbed into your cells. So, you know, when you get these numbers, a very general blood test will tell you, here's the amount of vitamin C you have in your blood, or here's the amount of whatever in your blood. But that's just what's passing through your freaking blood. It's not actually what is being used by your body. If your body can't absorb that nutrition into your cells, you're fucked in many ways. Right. So,
and that blood test is just a snapshot of that moment in time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, it's meaningless. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not, well, so you're right. It's meaningless in and of itself, but it's not meaningless when you look at a track record of blood tests.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I've always been told. Like my executive health doc, he's like, yeah, listen, forget it. It was my testosterone was a little bit, it was natural. It was normal, but it was a low normal. And he's like, well, you know, let's just watch that. And I'm like, well, what do I need to do? Like, I was starting to freak out. He said that, and he said a couple of other very, very small things. And he goes, Chris, listen, you flew in to see me.
Oh yeah.
We went out last night and hung out, had a big ass fucking dinner. We stayed out laughing all night. We got up early this morning. You went to your blood early this morning. Like, yeah, your testosterone is probably down a little bit. Let's wait until the next one. We'll compare 2, then we'll compare 3, and every 6 months or so. And he's like, yeah. So if we look back on the first test, we're lucky we never took action on that, because you're good. But most people don't understand that. They take one blood test and they're like, oh my God, things are great or things are horrible.
And even on the testosterone, you know, how you feel. I know guys who are like, dude, look, my testosterone's super low. Should I get on TRT? Everyone's doing TRT, bro. I'm like, how do you feel? Yeah, pretty good. How's your sex drive? Oh, you know, man, everything's great. I'm like, why bother?
And there's nothing to fix.
Exactly. So, and when you take it, how you take it, like my aunt, she's like, look, my blood, my A1C is up, this, that, and the other thing. I'm seriously low carb just now. I'm like, are you sleeping? She's like, no, I'm stressed out. Your cousin's getting a divorce. My husband, and I'm like, yeah, cortisol shoots up.
Yeah. Your
blood sugar shoots up. That's why. I mean, so it's not just like, oh, my diet sucks, I'm diabetic. There's all these different factors that influence it. But to go back to dopamine, natural things you can take is L-tyrosine. That helps your body produce more dopamine. I mean, I've been taking, you know, most of you shouldn't even do this. Always speak to your doctor before you do anything, blah, blah, disclaimer. So I've been taking Deprinyl, L-Deprol for a long time. And this I found out in the old days when I was biohacking. I probably took it, you know, prematurely, but L-Deprol at a very, very low dose is used to prevent your body's degradation of dopamine as you get older, which it falls apart. Listen, the sucky part about getting old is, you want to go out to dinner again? Been there, done that, right? You want to go here, like, even I got like a puppy, and I was dog sitting another puppy that was 1 year old, mine's 2 year old, and I was once dog sitting a 10-year-old. The 1 year old puppy's like, like, dude, stand still so I can put the leash on. You said we can go on a walk. And my dog used to be like that. She's still pretty cool. The 10-year-old is like, walking, dude. All right, I'll go outside, take a shit, and I'm back home. I'd rather just sleep in the corner. And you can't say that dog's dopamine is overdone because he took too much caffeine, or life sucks, or too much work problems, or he's been on, too many Facebook stuff that suck. It's just getting old. So you want to prevent stuff from, as you said, falling apart. So you're not absorbing and you're not reacting. Even pro bodybuilders take the same drugs they used to when they're 20 versus 30 versus 40. They don't react anywhere the same. You're the same genes. Things don't get absorbed and don't react as well. You can take steroids when you're 20, no problem. You can do the same steroids when you're 40, like, dude, I'm losing my hair, I'm getting zits. Your body's enzymatic reaction, sensitivity just changes. So again, it's how you absorb things. Don't burn stuff out.
Right.
That's all I can tell you. Okay.
And you
People
burn
are
out
like
as you get older.
Yeah, it burns out. And same thing with people, again, not sleeping well. It burns you out. Just don't taking breaks throughout the day to get your dopamine back down so it gets up again. Right. If you work out every day for 3 hours a day, I'm telling you, burn out and your system burns out. I have guys, I remember when I was burning out myself, I would take caffeine. I'd be like, did I even take it? I think I feel something. And during my workout, I'm like, ugh. I'm like, what the hell, dude? Why am I yawning? I just took like 3 billion milligrams of caffeine. I stopped taking everything. I actually didn't work out for 3 days. All of a sudden, my sleep got better. I went to the gym. I took just a little bit of caffeine. I'm like, man, so that's what you want. Things can get rejuvenated in the body if you give it time. Again, self-healing, self-cleaning. You just have to give it time, okay? You can't keep eating food until you get rid of what you ate. So think of it that way. So,
yeah, I've got a buddy who went on a caffeine fast for 30 days. And he said when he got back, he drank a little bit of coffee. And as soon as he did, after 30 days of not having caffeine, not just coffee, but no caffeine, meaning no coffee, no tea, no chocolate, none of the
nothing.
micro amounts of caffeine in it, right? And he avoided stimulants. So it wasn't just caffeine, but he also wasn't taking, anything else they would normally be taking to juice himself up from a stimulant standpoint. And he goes, when I came back, it was like a little bit of coffee made me so mentally alert. And not that I wasn't really alert, because at the end of 30 days, your brain doesn't really need the caffeine. It's difficult in the beginning because you've got all these synapses that are now breaking inside your freaking brain, right? And but there's a physiological thing that happens when you stop drinking caffeine as well. But he goes, at the end of that 30 days, I was literally thinking better. And then that little shot of coffee, it was just so clarifying. It was crazy. He goes, and so now he just does little bits like you were talking about before, 3 or 4 times a week. He does little bits of coffee. And he's just so much better than he was when he was drinking a lot. And I think it goes back to what you were saying, which is he probably burned out a lot of, and technically, if you really speak to somebody who studies your body and your systems, they're going to tell you there's no such thing as burnout. You don't burn out your adrenals. You don't, but there is the overtaxing that you were talking about, which really makes it so that they're not performing the way they should be performing, and the imbalances that all causes. So anyway, here, I want to talk about this.
Even on a side note, I twisted my ankle once, and the girl I was dating, she was actually a fitness model and all that, and she had a PhD in like kinesiology, whatever it was. And she's like, "Oh, you have to take anti-inflammatories." I'm like, "Oh, I know it hurts." She's like, "No, you have to take it or you'll die." I was like, okay, fine. So she's like telling me take, clinical studies have shown 600 milligrams of ibuprofen. I'm like, what? You want me to take that? She's like, yeah, every 4 hours.
Oh
So
my God.
I'm like, yeah. So I took one every 4 hours. I'm like, oh yeah, oh, much better. Of course, 2-3 days later, I'm like, I need to up it more. Anyhow, by the end of the week, I was taking like 400, 3-4 times a day. And I could tell I wasn't getting the same benefits. I stopped it after 10 days. Like, no, you got to do it for like a month. Okay. Anyhow, I stopped taking it and like every little thing hurt because my body now became overly sensitized. I was like, someone's like on the door, I'm like, not so loud, man. I was like, this can't be good. So use anything a little bit as needed. Obviously, if you just came out of surgery and you can't walk, I get it.
Yeah.
But never, even people who take OxyContin, that's a pretty powerful. Some guys are taking 20 or 30 a day. They built up to it. If I started you on 20 or 30 a day, you would literally, no hands down, you would be dead. Your body would die, overdose. But your body builds up to that. And that 30 tablets a day works like it did at 1 tablet a day. You don't want that. Because, these drugs ultimately, remember, Coca-Cola was cocaine in the cola. They needed a replacement. And they got a special form of caffeine that I used to use in one of my products. It's a special long-acting, easy on the brain. They know, they're smart. It's a multi-trillion-dollar company. So they replaced one drug for another. Just because everyone does caffeine or alcohol, which is toxic to the system, doesn't mean that, I could just take it all day long. So just keep that in mind. Be kind to your body. Don't overdo anything. Even in 1 or 2 nights of sleep, hey, you got a seminar, I get it. You take that, maybe take some modafinil, you're getting through and all that. Come back and give your day 2 or 3, your life, 2 or 3 days to just recoup. Okay.
But I agree, you did the right thing. You listened to somebody with a lot of credibility. I mean, she was a fitness model, so she knows a lot about medicine.
Well, the PhD, and she worked for the chiropractor, but I thought, well, she must know, because she was also a doctor. But at the end, I'm like,
I didn't know that.
What? Listen to your body.
I didn't hear that part.
Oh, yeah. No.
I blanked out when you said fitness model.
When she's fitness model. No.
So
she had a PhD in kinesiology and she worked at a chiropractic office, but my chiropractor, in the old days, I would take curcumin.
Yeah.
I would take, ice and do all that natural stuff. And by the way, your body will heal it, man.
Absolutely.
So give it some time. Maybe you got to endure a little bit of pain. It's like getting off caffeine. By the way, if you aren't taking any kind of drugs, don't cold turkey anything. Okay. Please don't. Slowly wean off. Okay. Depending on what dose you're taking, and then give your body a break. You'll get a lot more benefit. Look, no difference than you're dating a girl. Okay. She's hot. Dude, I can't wait. Everything is awesome. You can't wait to see her. Sex is so awesome. You do that for 3 months. She's not hot anymore. She's not awesome in bed anymore because you got used to her. Sorry to say. Okay. Your dopamine is like, it's her again. Give a little bit of break is good. Taking some time off, seeing each other, breaks here and there. You appreciate someone more. And your body appreciates that drug more because you didn't burn out. I remember Tom Platt saying, workout bodybuilder guy saying, you can't appreciate, a good workout if you don't have a bad workout. So give your days that you don't have to be up all the time. You don't have to be happy all the time. You don't have to be anything all the time. Maybe that's what weekends are for. That's what a vacation is, there to recuperate your body. You can take little mental vacations throughout the day, breaks by just, like you said, meditate, go outside, just look at birds or go walk in the forest or something. Don't have to be working and not appreciating that forest. Like sometimes I would be like doing stuff with my puppy and I wouldn't even be paying attention that she's like wanting to play with the leash, and staying a little bit more in the moment with your kids. Before I go on a side tangent, when my dad had a stroke, then like a week later, my cat just fell. I'm like, what the F, dude? Did she have a stroke too? Take her to the doctor. She has diabetes. I fix it, I do the blood, all that stuff. But I remember she would always come to the front door, go, meow, 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 meow. And I'd be like, not now, I got to work. I got to do this. I got to do that. When she was dying, I stopped doing that. I just pick her up and I give her a lot of love, this and that. And by the way, she's a cat. 30 seconds later, she's like, leave me alone. 4 years later, when she passed away, I didn't have regrets that like, hey, I wasn't there. I did my best. I was always there. I would play with her a little bit. I would make her a priority. It only took a minute. Sometimes your kid's like, hey, daddy, this and that. You just stop what you're doing, because there's going to be a day your kid's not going to want to talk to you again.
Yeah.
So being the focus, the most expensive thing you can have in life is regret. Regret emotionally for what you do and don't do, even your body physically. You only get one body. So treat it, be nice. You don't have to burn it all the time. Trust me, you'll make more money being nice to your body and balancing things out.
Yeah, that's profound. That was a nice way to end that one. Shit. So, and your butt. So, one of the things that I've learned that I think has been a big thing for me, because I do believe heavily in the fact that we have to keep ourselves mentally focused, which comes down to being emotionally strong, or at least emotionally stable, which comes down to a lot of the thoughts that we have, which keep ourselves emotionally strong, which gives ourselves, the mental focus, right? But then in order to do that or at least be able to do that, we've got to control our body, because our body then allows us to go through that whole cycle. And then you do that on a regular basis, even if it's just working out on a regular basis. And I'll get into a couple of other things, but even if it's just working out on a regular basis, then it becomes automatic. Like you begin thinking a little bit better all the time. You begin having better emotions all the time. You begin becoming mentally focused all the friggin' time. And you don't want to miss your workout because you feel like things are going so much better, right? And then the end result is you're growing your company significantly better. You're a better leader. You're perceived as a better leader. You come out more fluent when you're talking to people, right? You make better decisions with your wealth when you're bringing in money, instead of going out there and spending it on parties or spending it on alcohol and spending it on all these other things that then make you make stupid decisions. And then you get into that flow again where you're missing your workout. And then you begin a little bit, you're thinking worse thoughts, and you have fucked up emotions, and then you make worse decisions.
Sabotage.
It's horrible, right?
A lot of people sabotage themselves.
Absolutely.
Look, all you have to do, people are like, how are you so this and that all these years? I'm like, it's easy. Someone's got this religion, that religion. My religion's always been health.
Yeah.
Anything and everything I do, is this helping me get closer to that health goal, mental, physical, emotional, or not? By the way, you can't have anything in life without having good health. You want to, every entrepreneur I have later on in life, look at Jeff Bezos. He's working out now.
Yeah.
Right. When you work out and this and that, you can work better, you can think better, this and that. You want to have great emotions with your significant other, with your kids. You can't do it when you're tired or mentally burned out or you're angry. Okay. And so once you do this, by the way, good luck making money when you have a heart attack, when you have a stroke, when you're tired, when you got some health issue. Oh, I don't know. You got to come in and do some blood tests. You're like, dude, I got this thing I got to do. Listen, you come in or you're dead. Okay. Now you're wasting all this time and money because you didn't do that, quote unquote, an ounce of prevention. And all it is simple stuff. I'm not telling you to get all complicated like me, just a little bit. Work out with weights 3, maybe 4 times a week. That's all you need. On the alternate days, do some cardio, just walk every day. 10, 20 minutes, 2-3 times a day, before or after your meals. Make your phone calls, do something. It makes a profound difference in how you feel. You'll get more done. Look, people put so much more time into fine-tuning their computer, their phone, their cars. Okay. And you don't fine tune anything in your body. That's the thing that needs the most tuning up.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I'm going to get a little bit deeper if it's okay with you, because just for the people who might be listening or viewing this, who are as, screwed up in the head as me and like to take it to the absolute limit. So, actually, this is not the absolute limit. We'll just go a little bit deeper. So I believe heavily in what we're talking about: the nutrition, choosing the right foods, doing the probiotics, getting a little bit of sun, making sure you're active all day long, and which is very, very difficult. Like in my life, there's a couple of days a week where I'm on video all freaking day long. Like I'm from early in the morning, I'm in team meetings, and then I get into a couple of other meetings, and I do some partnership meetings, and I'm on with my board of directors for a short period of time. And then, there's a lot of things that we've got going on. And when I'm on video, I'm sitting down. So I'm sitting down all throughout those few days, which sucks. And the way I'm balancing a lot of that out is I believe heavily in things like sauna, ice baths, heavily in those things, exercise. And exercise to me is, I truly believe for longevity, you have to push yourself with weights. That you don't have to go crazy. I'm not talking about powerlifting, but you have to push yourself a little bit with weights. It doesn't have to be a long time, but if you push yourself 3, 4, 5 times a week with weights, then I think you're set up better for longevity. And then balancing that out with cardio, and you already talked a little bit about cardio, but I really believe that cardio could be whatever it is that makes you active, number one. Number two, if you're willing to take it to the next level, then sweat, because sweating is freaking magical. And I think that we could go through years of our life and forget that you should be sweating every day. Like, because that's one of your body's ways of getting rid of all the toxins.
Yeah.
And there's so many people who literally don't. I mean, I've freaking gone through, I recently, moved from one state to another state, and through all the turmoil of just keeping things going in the companies and with my family and the transition with the move and everything else, it was just weird. And my son said to me one night, when's the last time you actually sweat when you were working out? I'm like, I haven't. And that night I got on the bike, I put on heavy sweats and with a hoodie on, and I just pedaled until I dripped, and I was done, and I took a cold shower, and I'm like, I feel like $1,000,000. But so the sauna, the ice baths, the exercise, hydration, staying really, really hydrated, and then trying to recuperate. And recuperate could be sleep, which is the best, meditation if you can't, then or the massage therapy, things like that actually give my brain and my body the ability to recuperate.
Look, all the things you said are perfect, and you just mentioned a lot of things. I want people to do with the ones they can.
Exactly.
They're going to be like, oh man, I got to get a fucking sauna. I got to do this. I don't want to do it. I'm like, look, dude, pick this up. Look, I guarantee you, if you just work out 3 times a week, and then on the other days, or every day, you just walk 10 minutes before, first 10 to 15 minutes first thing in the morning, a couple times after your workout, maybe take like a little nice walk at night to 80-20 rule right there. I've never done a sauna. Trust me, I'm okay. If you can't, fantastic. The massage, look, in my ideal world, I would be doing that. I would get a massage 3 times a week, go to the chiropractor 2 times a week. I'd get acupuncture, it's like in my perfect ideal world, unlimited amounts of money and time, I would do it, but I don't. That's not my reality. And most people just do what you can, but stick to it.
Right.
If you can say, hey man, I don't have time during the week to work out. Okay. Can you walk every day? Okay, fine. I can't do weights every day. I'm like, what about Saturday and Sunday? Okay. So do half your body Saturday and the other half on Sunday, right? Done. You're good. I guarantee you'll see dramatic improvements, better than nothing. Okay. Something is better than nothing. And as you start to do something, you feel better, you'll do more. Momentum in life. Sometimes I'm afraid to take time off from work for more than a couple of days. I'm afraid I lose that momentum. Even with like working out. Nowadays, if I don't work out for 4 or 5 days, I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I got all this extra free time on my hand. I don't have to eat as well. But then I don't look as good. I don't feel as good, but always stay in that good momentum. Whatever you're doing, get momentum. I write every day. I hate writing, even though I've written thousands of stuff. Every day I write a little bit. If I said write for just 15 minutes every day, like, oh, okay, I can do that. 15 minutes probably turn to like 30 minutes, and you start to get momentum, and you're good. Now you do it every day. Same thing with the walk. I'm like, just get outside, just walk around the block for just 5 minutes. Like, oh, 5 minutes, what's it going to do? Next thing you know, you're walking 10 minutes. So just do a little. Never go to the extreme of I had a friend who's like, oh, I got to work out. And he's very driven. He's like, I'm working out now 6 days a week. I'm like, dude, you're going to burn out.
Yeah.
Guess what? 3 months later, he stopped working out. Build. Again, you don't have to do 300 milligrams of caffeine, 25, 3 times a week. You're going to feel it. Slowly improve. With work, hey, go say, I'm going to put in a little bit extra time every night, just 20 minutes to do this thing. Then do a little bit more. Then the weekends. A little bit, as you build up, starts to become natural, and you become more efficient at it, and you can do more of it without it like stressing your system out mentally.
So let's go from body to brain real quick. Brain supplements or brain nutrients. So, and I don't have a bottle next to me. I do someplace over here. I do actually. So I'm not pitching your stuff. I'm telling you, I mean, one of my favorite supplements. But there's a lot in there that you've talked to me about in the past, and there's a lot of other things as well out there. And I'd love for you to touch on, some things that people can do to be more mentally alert from a nutrition standpoint, supplement wise. Like there's a lot of talk about lion's mane. I don't take it. I have not. I will try it probably. It's on my list, but I have not done that. I am drinking that mushroom coffee right now. They just sent me a whole bunch of cans of it to test, which I have zero effect whatsoever. Drinking that, I don't get it. But there are a lot of things out there. So clear some of the bullshit, if you don't mind, about what works and doesn't work.
There's clinical studies with everything. Every clinical study is BS if you want to look deeper into it. A lot of things is how do you feel when you do something, right? For example, this guy was telling me the other day, whatever, I don't remember what it was. He's like, oh, like 𝗚-tyrosine. He's like, I take 50 milligrams, maybe 100. I'm like, 100, dude. It's like me spending something on 50 pesos. I need like 500 milligrams before I feel anything. So you have to see what works for you. But when it comes to energy, there's a lot of factors. Like remember, I said there's dopamine factors, there's ATP, there's acetylcholine. People take an alpha GPC or something, right? And things that improve glutamine and I mean the choline, acetylcholine. There's all these factors. Mitochondria that we talked about, improving oxygen to the brain. So there's lots of factors. That's why I created the body brain energy. For anyone listening, you can have anyone for Kristen, you have 20% off anything at the website. We'll give you coupons and all that. But ultimately, see what works for you. Don't rely on uppers. Okay, that's the one thing I can do. Improve your body naturally from within. And remember, all the things we're telling you to do, improving dopamine and mitochondria and all that. If you're doing the exercise, the diet, the eating well, the mind stuff, recuperating and rest, all that stuff will naturally improve. But sometimes you need a little bit of an extra edge, right? I take body brain energy just as an example. I don't take it every day. I took it this morning, right? I don't really necessarily take it on the weekends because I don't want my body to like get used to it. But all this stuff, your body can do a little bit. I don't really like to take only one ingredient because I noticed that I need to then take a higher and higher dose. And I learned all this stuff from the old days with bodybuilders and their stacking steroids. They never took just one drug because you had to take out one drug, your body got used to it, it was only working with one pathway kind of, and then you started getting more and more side effects. So bodybuilders, they realized if they stacked multiple drugs, they can use a lower dose and get more positives with less negatives. And that's all I've ever wanted to do. I always wanted all-in-one products. That's all my products do. It's like all-in-one. I hated it myself. I'm like, I buy some tyrosine here and I'll do that and this and that. Next thing I got like 18 products, which I don't know what to do with what. I'm not doing it. At the end, I didn't do anything. The only stuff I take on the side is, again, a little bit of caffeine here and there that I can control. I take the nicotine that I can control. And that's really it. And then balancing just out without overburdening my system. Even, the working out, I used to work out all the time. Now, after 2 to 3 weeks, I can tell I'm not getting the same effect, right? And I stop. I'm just making this up. I'll do like 8 sets, then I'll do 10 sets, then I'll do 12 sets, then I'll go back down and I'll go up. It's a stock market. Nothing goes up all the time. Your body has to recuperate no matter what. Unless, I remember, unless you can have great genetics, all you do is eat, all you do is sleep, okay, and you got the greatest drug paraphernalia in the body. Even those guys still need to recuperate. Right. If you don't recuperate anything else, you need to recuperate your nervous system, which is the biggest thing. You need to recuperate your joints, So everything has to recuperate, even with work. If you do the same thing every day, you burn out. Mix stuff up. Maybe like 2 days just to write articles, 2 days to do interviews, 2 days to do this. Then every day is kind of new and interesting. So keep that in mind. That has to do with dopamine. If you do the same thing every day, like even you start binging a movie. One of my favorites was like shows like Seinfeld. After like 10 shows in a row, I'm like, "Ugh, I'm tired of it." So you get burned out on anything. So balance and rinse, recuperate on everything.
Yeah, isn't that like one of the two main components after they did these studies on longevity, the people who live the longest, and they studied these people who they smoked, they studied people who drank, they studied people who did all these weird things, and they said, well, how could they do these things and still be centenarians, you know, live in excess of 100 years? And what they found is that there's two things that they were, you know, what you were just talking about was one of those things where they had balance throughout their lives. They had multiple stimulations throughout the course of the week. And then the other big factor was that they had long-term goals, which is actually how we started this, right? People who look forward to things. And I think that that's profound. And I've used it in my life many times because it helps to not, you know, obviously I don't know how it's affecting me as on a longevity thing. Like I haven't lived that long yet to say, that's the main factor. But it does help me from burning out. Like anytime I've gone through, like I've been through several areas of my life where I've had a couple of, you know, speed bumps that cause stress, you know, everything from selling companies, buying companies, going through a divorce, you know, there's been a lot of things that, you know, created internal stress as well as external stress. But having the long-term goal was always my anchor. It was something that brought me back to reality and gave me something to grab a hold of and keep focused on, which kept me pushing forward, where a lot of people would literally just crumble and just say, all right, that's it. I'm going to pull the covers over my head and that I'm going to call this a week.
You know, Rocky, one of his movies, not how hard you get, it's coming back up, getting up over and over again. You know, the whole destination, you know, the journey is more important than the destination. The why is more important than the how. Look, you're an entrepreneur. I don't know, you know, after a certain amount of dollars, you don't see shit. It's just money in the bank. You don't care. You're not going to spend it. You don't even get the same. So you're doing it for a reason. When you lose that why or the passion, maybe you need to reevaluate why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Because the same goals you had at the beginning isn't going to be the same goals 5 years, 10 years later, when initially like, I got to pay the freaking rent. I got to, you know, the mortgage, I got to take care of the kids, whatever it might be. Later on, you're like, why am I doing all this, man? You know, we need to get a different why. And obviously the best why is always outside of yourself. As the saying goes, you know, you'll do more for someone else than you will for yourself, unfortunately. You'll do more for your kids than when you, I see people doing more for their pets' health than they do for themselves. So figure out a big why, have goals, long-term goals, have short-term intermediary goals. Okay. The other thing I remember learning from Tony Robbins is he would be like, I'm going all the time. But he said, I didn't like celebrate the wins, the small wins. And when you don't do that, you don't appreciate the big wins. You just like, oh, I just made $1 million. Okay, well, let me go make 2 million and then 4 million and 50 million and 100 million. You're just going through the motion. So that's one thing I had to learn to do, is to celebrate little wins. And maybe sometimes, you know, like this interview might go on, like, dude, good job, right? That went well. What did you learn? What didn't you like? Let me, you know, say thanks, this, that, and the other thing. And I make notes. Journaling is a huge thing. I journal as much as I can. And then move on to the next goal.
Yep.
But you have to stop and appreciation, attitude of gratitude. I know this all sounds, you know, moo, but it matters. And the biggest thing for success in anything is persistence. It's consistency. And that comes with patience. That comes with learning, evaluating, you know, changing. You can't be like, I'm going to do what I did 6 months ago. It's not going to work. Same thing with your working out. Same thing with your relationships. Everything has to change. You have to know why. And one of the biggest mistakes I used to make is to put my head in the sand. I'm just going to keep working. keep working, you know, this, that, and the other thing. I never stopped to evaluate, like, why isn't things working? What are other people doing? Hey, what's going on? What's this thing with TikTok? And maybe I should learn about that. Can I use it now? No, maybe not now. But I reevaluate it 6 months later. I'm like, oh, things have changed, and now I can fit in because I'm not a 16-year-old anymore. That, you know, now the target market for TikTok changed. Now I can go in. Never give up. Never give up. Honestly, never give up, and keep pushing, but know why. Reevaluate, learn. You're always gonna be making mistakes, and there is no such thing as failure as long as you learn from it. That's all you can say. And write down, be humble, learn from other people, and don't take responsibility for everything. I know we just gone off on a whole side tangent of mental focus and emotional drive, but that to me is the most important factor. You cannot reach Chris's level of success, no amount of, let me give you another thing. I've got a cousin who's younger than me, and he's literally a billionaire. He's always had charm and charisma. I had that. And then, yeah, his dad was really rich. And my other cousin's like, well, if I got $1 million, I could do that. I'm like, I couldn't because I don't have the connections he had. I wouldn't know what to do with it. He was also driven the way I was, you know, this wasn't, you know, so you have to see what works for you, but you can always be you can always be better, smarter. You don't compare yourself to someone else. That's the worst thing you can do. It's the worst thing parents do. Why can't you be more like so-and-so? I remember my mom said that. I'm like, why can't you be more like so-and-so's mom? That shut her up. She never did that again. Okay. But never compare yourself to someone else. I used to compare myself to other people at the gym. Like, what the F? That dude's already benching more than me in 3 weeks. This guy's calves are bigger. This guy. And I'm like, you know what? You're going to die. Especially if we're driven. We're always going to compare ourselves to so-and-so. Yeah. Why can't I be more like Jeff Bezos? Forget it. There's only one of him. Learn from what he did, right? Like if you talk to him, he's like, oh, we planned, like someone's like, hey, you had a good quarter. He's like, yeah, we planned that out 3 years ago. He has hindsight in the future. Most people don't have goals. They have goals, stupid goals. Pay the rent. I got to get a new refrigerator. I got to fix the air conditioning. That's mundane, stupid goals. And you achieve all those goals. But how many people set bigger goals outside of themselves and a big enough why to do it? Most people don't. And write down your goals and the biggest reasons why you do, because that's going to keep you going. Because every time there's a problem, all day long, right before this, we had tech problems, but you just laugh it off and you go, I'll fix this, and everything else at the end will be easy.
I remember a couple curses.
Yeah. On camera, I don't curse, but regularly. And true story, I watched The Sopranos once. My cousin brought over, he's like, dude, I got 4 seasons of Soprano. We have to return it on Monday because my buddy wants it. So Friday, I started watching it. He was my next one. We keep bringing back season 1, season 2. 3 days later, I come out with a beard and I'm cursing every other word, and I never stop because of that. It was good, but anyhow.
Yeah. So, dude, everything that you said relates to. I mean, this is the exact same thing I talk about when I'm talking to my leadership teams in business. I'm framing it differently, but we're talking about every single thing in business, every single thing that we do together as a team needs to have a big reason why. And I talk about this all the time with them. I'll do more for my kids than anything else. And I have to understand that is my reason why but I'm not thinking about that when I'm working, because I marry my targets with work, the daily actions that I need to take on a regular basis at work in order to get, from point A to point B as quickly as possible. And I marry that to my reason why in life. And in that way, my businesses become tools to get me the kind of life that I want, right? And I use that, mental, I guess, that mindset or whatever you want to call it, that screwed up way of thinking to help me to achieve quite a few things, which has been cool, even if it's just tricking yourself. But it is having a big reason why, I think, is probably one of the most profound things that we talked about today. The gratitude thing also. There's no way to be persistent in business, to consistently doing what you want to do if you're not happy, if you're not in gratitude for everything that you have already achieved, if you're not happy with the fact that you're part of an organization that is actually helping you grow, if you're not happy with the fact that you're surrounding yourself with people who are also high achievers, because you're running with that herd as opposed to running with a herd of, you know, friends that you had when you were in high school who all want to sit around and smoke pot or drink or do whatever else, you know, we used to do when we were in high school.
You know, the whole attitude of gratitude, people used to tell me, and then like something bad would happen. My friend's like, well, at least you've got two eyes. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's not me.
Yeah, I can't say that. And that, you know, and then by the way, sometimes I remember vividly this one guy walking up my mountain. I was driving home to my parents' house. I was like, oh, life sucks. I hate everything. And there was this blind guy just walking on the side of the street. And I'm like, oh, what am I complaining about? Right. That gave me a reality check.
Yeah.
Now that's that occasional attitude of gratitude. But
Right.
you know, in the day, if something isn't going right, which it always is as an entrepreneur, see what is going right, not what's going wrong, just what's going right, to kind of just change your mindset.
Right.
And for me, I like to, again, motion creates emotion. Go on a walk. By the way, nothing wrong with bitching and complaining and cursing and saying F the whole world. I write my journal, F everyone, everyone's an idiot. I'm the smartest person on the planet. And Jesus, Moses, Allah, and Buddha, everyone's an idiot. I'm like, fine, that's it. We made peace with that. I'm like, okay, well, now what can I make better? And I write that journal, and then I go on a walk. And I start planning that. See, all right, this, that, and the other thing. Well, maybe I can do this. Oh, I haven't done that yet. And I come back, and I'm just like all of a sudden remotivated.
Yeah.
I got it out of my system, and I didn't focus. Most people focus on the problem. 90% of the time, we should be focusing on the solution. Get it out. There's nothing wrong about bitching and complaining. I have girls like, why are you complaining? I'm like, shut up, you know, but complain, get it out. Complain to yourself. Complain to someone who can understand. There's nothing wrong. Sometimes complaining just
Yeah, absolutely.
gets it
A
out.
little bit of the stress out.
And then focus on the solution. Don't sit there and focus on the, I was talking to one of my neighbors the other day. She was complaining about some guy. And I'm like, yeah, totally, this and that. And then she repeated the same thing, but using different words. I'm like, what? I just saw this movie. Why are you rewinding it? And you know that when she gets off, when she stops talking to me, she's going to talk to one of her friends. Oh, you won't believe what happened to me today. I'm like, oh my God, you just complained about the same bad movie 30 times today. You watch a bad movie, get out of it, and go watch a new movie that you're going to create in your head. That's going to be more positive. That's going to be something that's more empowering, something that you can control. You can't control a lot of things, but you taking action is control. When you complain about something, you're not taking any action. You're still not having any control over anything. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And it also guides a lot of the things that you're doing for the rest of that day, right? I think that, you know, what I see a lot of people doing, and obviously I've caught myself doing this a lot, is during the day, you know, not taking a mental check. Like I'll tell you, we have a plaque hung above the doors of my office in 2 of the locations that we have. The plaque has been up there for more than a decade. I don't know how many years, probably about 12 or 13 years. It says, what is the most important use of my time? And it is super important, I believe, because it snaps you back to what should I be doing right now? It's not just, you know, it's not just the superficial stuff like, I was just on Facebook messing around looking at high school friends, or I got stuck in a TikTok rabbit hole, and instead of watching one thing, I'm 30 minutes in. It's not just the superficial stuff. It's more important. It's what you're talking about also. It's the mindset. You know, what is the most important thing that I should be doing right now? The most important action. And anyway, I think
and that action is to achieve that goal. If my goal is health and I'm like sitting there bitching, that's not going to help my mental health. So I got to stop that. Right. And the other thing I want people to know, someone's like passionate. I'm not really passionate about my work. I get it. You don't necessarily have to be. There's some stuff you are. Some stuff as an entrepreneur, you're not, dude. I get it. No one's doing everything they want every day. But maybe there's something else you're passionate about. And you can use your business to fund that cool passion. Right. And then that will be like, man, I'm getting excited. If someone's like, dude, you know what I love? I love driving fast cars. I love it, dude. I'm like, why don't you make some more money and go get like a cool car, or just even one day, take $600 and go on a race car, you know, and on track for, just do it. And you're doing like, oh my God, that was so awesome. Imagine if I could do this every day. I'm like, how much would you need? $600 every day. I'm like, go ahead, make $6,000. By you trying to make that extra $600 to fund that passion, you end up making $6,000 because of it. So have that. The one other advice I could give people is, or suggestion is, what would you tell your little brother or sister? Anytime you run into a problem, what would you tell them? Or what would you tell yourself if you go back in time? Right? If you're dealing with this, like, I'm like, what would you tell your brother, your little brother or sister, or whomever that's dealing with the same right now? You'd be like, hey, bro, come on now. Hey, you shouldn't have hired that person. You knew there was something wrong with them and you kept working with them with their BS excuses. You should have fired them 3 months ago, because they've been ruining your business. They're toxic to the environment, the community that you have, or at the very least, you should have found someone else to first replace them. And then it's your fault. Now I'm not, and then you're like, oh, okay, you know, you give better advice to someone else. Most people give advice that they don't follow. So if you're not willing to give yourself that advice, what would you tell your little brother who you care and love so much? You're like, okay, maybe I gotta take that same advice. And then you can, and also, I tell you that because be kind to you, be kind. You know, it's so easy to, especially as entrepreneurs, you beat yourself up left and right. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. You know, when you're in a kindful mindset, things are better. If you're bitching and moaning, you're an idiot. Why'd you do that? Someone else like, hey, babe, you're like, another idiot. Everyone's an idiot. The dog's barking. Oh, an idiot. You're in that idiot mindset. But if you're like, okay, look, you learn from it. What are we going to never do again? And instead, what are we going to do? Avoid pain, gain the pleasure, that whole thing. And then you're going to immediately be like, man, fucking empowering now, dude. I'm cool. I got it. Someone else goes like, hey, babe, what's going on? Not much, man. I'm going to go out and kick some ass. All right. That's your mindset, rather than feel defeated and lack of hope. And what's the point to it all? I feel like that a lot of times. I'm like, what am I doing all this for? Because I'm not like congruent with my goals, because I forgot to reset them. The goals are like from a long time ago. So I need to reset them and have stronger, different whys. By the way, the reason you do something in your 20s is different than your 40s, is different when you're 60. So keep that in mind. You just got to redo the goals.
And a lot of things that you're saying right now, I think what I keep thinking about is how it drips down from the top. So it doesn't make a difference. Like if we can't get ourselves to do that, to live this way, to feel this way, to think these thoughts for ourselves, we have to remember that if our goal really is to grow a business, the culture in that business starts at the top with us. And we have the ability to infect a culture faster than any other virus of an employee might do later on. Like, we are the glue. We are the people who continuously get people to drink the Kool-Aid every single day. And it is either going to be, you know, good Kool-Aid, or it's going to be bad Kool-Aid. Depends on our attitude, depends on our actions, depends on how we reply to people. So if we are consistently replying to people in a bad way because we're in the wrong mindset, then those people underneath us, our direct reports, the leaders in our company who deal with everybody else, even if the next level down is our customers and prospects, which is horrible, right? That is the attitude they're bringing to that, and it reduces sales. And then we're trying to figure out why the hell. And we start yelling at these people because shit's happening that's not good. Sales aren't coming in, or retention is not good, or whatever, or we're misappropriating funds in the wrong way, so we're not growing. But it's all starting here, right? It's all starting in our mind, and it's dripping down to everybody else. So it's like everything that you're saying. I think that depending on the person who's watching, you know, there's a lot of people who just watch this because they want business tactics, and then there's a lot of people who understand that a lot of the results that we get in business stem from our mindset, right? So I think that what you're saying is profound on both levels.
And you know, sometimes people say, oh, the customer's always right.
Not really,
but you know what? You got to remember, your employee or teams, they're the ones dealing with the customer. So you be good to them. And by the way, if you talk to someone, goes, hey, you know, maybe things aren't going well. Hey guys, what's not working? What's it? if they're always complaining something in your business, maybe you got to be like, oh, maybe I need to improve the website. Maybe I need to do this. What's a constant complaint? Let's remove obstacles for your team so they can do a better job. Ask them, they want to be involved. If you keep them involved, they treat it like their own business.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll fight for it. So keep that in mind. And ultimately, money, look, let's just say you only care about money. Fine, I get it. Bill Gates never said, I want to make $1 billion. His goal was, how can I get a computer in everyone's home?
Mm-hmm.
By doing that, he made billions of dollars. So when sometimes I make these YouTube videos, I'm like, only got 5,000 views. It used to get like 500,000 views. What's going on? I'll evaluate that. I'm like, but my mindset at that point is, why am I even doing this? No one's even watching it. But you know what? I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for them. So I'll create another video and I'll do another one, another topic. I'll see what people want. Hey guys, what topics do you want me to cover? Watch the comments, and then I'll make a cool video. I'm like, oh shoot, that did like a couple 100,000. But you got to listen to people. And at the same time, you're always doing it for someone else. If you help someone get what they want, they'll help you get what you want. Okay. And if your only goal is money, that's fine. If you helped 100,000 people get their goals and give you $5 each or $10 each or $1,000 each, you just achieved your monetary goal. But you can't do it on your own. You need someone to help people and see what people want, what's working, what's not working, how you can make improvements, doing surveys and asking your team members and asking clients and customers what they want. You'll get clarity. You don't have to guess anymore. Oh, everybody wants this type of product? Well, all right, let's do it. Let's see how it works. Give it, they'll give you back by saying, thanks, here's my wallet.
Yeah, and for anybody who is watching or listening and they believe that this stuff that we're talking about right now only works when you have a large team of people, like I got to stop and I have to just actually state to everybody, because I don't think I even said this. Like you've built, you were just rattling off a couple of numbers for your YouTube videos. Like you've got videos out there that have, it's touched a tremendous number of people, right? Millions of people. You've got how many subscribers on YouTube? Last time I checked, was it close to like 3 million or something subscribers?
It's like, all around. And by the way, guys, listen, I was getting hundreds of thousands of subscribers all the time. Then it slowed down. Yeah, it killed my motivation, but you realize, the algorithms have changed, fine. But at the same time, you're going to be like, well, I can't keep doing what I was doing a year ago. Right. I got to step it up. I got to change it. Okay. It's just like working out. If you did 100 pounds for 10 reps all the time, you're not going to grow. You got to do either more, okay, or you got to switch it around. I'm not going to do that exercise anymore. I'm going to do something else. And you got to keep up with the times. The problem with the internet is it changes so quickly.
Right.
Okay. Life is changing so quickly. The technology changes quickly. People's, back when I started doing it, we only had Internet Explorer and this thing called Netscape a little bit here. There was no Google. It was Yahoo and Alta Vista and then Ask Jeeves. Right. So this is way before. Now we got a million things at every second. So you need to adapt and be quick and be mindful of that and just keep changing and seeing what works and test and see what other people are doing and never give up, never give up, never give up, because all it takes is like one awesome thing. Like one of my views got over 20 million. One of my videos got 20 million views, over 20 million. It was the #1 exercise for stronger erections. I never thought in a million years it would get that much. So you don't know what works. You don't know what thing will ever do it. You don't know what product. You don't know what connection.
Yeah.
But one thing is certain, that you will never achieve any of that until you keep doing and keep doing. So keep going. You just keep testing, and the one thing will lead to another. And 5 years later, maybe someone's like, "Oh, I got featured on Oprah," or "I got featured on this." Who would have ever thought? And that opens up more doors. You just got to be patient. That as long as you keep planting the seeds, nurturing it, fertilizing it, watering it. Sometimes the season is summer is good. Sometimes winter is longer. You just keep pushing and pushing. And all of a sudden, one day you're like, hey, I got some fruit. Yeah. But, it's not going to happen overnight. Just as if your kid couldn't walk, you're going to be like, kid's an idiot. It's never going to happen. You just keep pushing and keep pushing. So don't give up on you and don't give up on anything else.
Yeah. So this is, every time every time we go off on a tangent, I think you're spitting out gold. But I'm going to go back to something that I was saying because it's about you, and I don't want. I think it's important for everybody to understand this. Like you don't have any employees. Like you're Sam. You're sitting in an area, and you've got people who work for you as independent contractors.
Yeah.
But really, not a lot. Like you literally have built an amazing following of people. You built a company that helps a tremendous number of people. You are anal about how pure your supplements are. Like you're one of the few people that I know that literally have we've talked offline many times about how you won't, like, I won't put anything in there unless I really think it's going to be profound. I only put things in there that are not just going to be profound, but in a combination that synergistically helps them be more profound. Like you really, your heart really is in it. Whereas,
by the way, anything I make, I've either made it because I wanted it or
because
my
your
family member, my mom did it, right?
Yeah.
So someone's like, why don't you do this product? I'm like, I can do it for selling reasons, but yeah. And by the way, when, if someone's like, I make millions, all this stuff, but can I make way more? And I make a lot more on my investments and stuff, but you got to see what works for you. Maybe you don't want a company with 1,000 employees. Maybe you don't want to be like a Salesforce, right? Maybe you just want to make like X amount of dollars with 3 good employees, and that's the life you want. Good. Okay. You can have that and be happy with that. Just don't try to be something you're not, or don't live a lifestyle that you're not happy. Look, I can make way more money working more, traveling all the time. I hate it. I've done it a long time ago. It wasn't good for my health. It wasn't good for me physically. It wasn't good for me emotionally. So I'm like, why? Why am I doing all this? I have money. There's this whole story, you can correct me, where it's this fisherman, some guy comes to the fisherman town. It's like some investment guys like, oh, we can make a ton of money for you with all the fishing boats and all this stuff. And basically the guy's already like living the life. He's like, what happens when I do this up in 20 years? He's like, then you can do whatever you want. It's like, I'm already doing whatever I want now.
Yeah.
So pick the lifestyle that you want. And then look, animals have to get stuck to their environment. We humans can change our environment to do what we want. I, a long time ago, said, I will not drive to work every day. I saw my parents doing it an hour and a half each way. It's horrible. I said, I'm going to work from home. This is right around the internet. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I started an offline thing, doing direct response. I sent out mail. I lost all my money. My brother's like, what are you doing sending out mail? Why don't you just send it out, electronically? I'm like, what's doing? It's like, it's called email. I'm like, wait, I can send out email to everyone for free? He says, yeah. I was like, cool, how do I do it? And I had to learn how to use a computer. I had to learn how to code. I know how to design and write code in multiple languages now. But back then, I remember I had to design a website. And once it took me 3 hours to figure out how to create a new paragraph, because I had to learn code. I'm like, I can't do this, bro. And I would like curse at it. I'm like, heck this and this and that. And I'd walk away and I'd go do something else. And I'd come back and I'd pick up right where I left off. So don't forget to take those little breaks. And next thing you know, you learn how to do this and do all that. But for me, I knew a specific lifestyle that I wanted and I choose it. So now I'm happy. I can work when I want, when I don't want. I go to the gym throughout the day. I can take a nap if I want. So that's another reason I didn't create like this whole big office with different people, because that wasn't going to make me happy. But someone else, it does. So do what makes you happy and your lifestyle and your family. So never lose sight of that, or else you're going to be living someone else's fake life.
Yeah. So what's next?
As we were talking about goals, I haven't like set a goal in a while.
Yeah.
And you know what? The past couple of years, I've been like, kind of moping around.
Mm-hmm.
I've been doing things forcefully on willpower. And willpower, as strong as my willpower is, it eventually gives out.
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm talking to you, I'm like, man, I haven't set new goals. I don't have new whys. So by the way, the greatest thing you can do to learn is to teach. So as I'm talking about this, I'm like, subconsciously or unconsciously, I'm like, man, I better go sit down. So I don't know what's next. I enjoy health. I'm always going to be doing it. do I want to keep doing it on my own, or I'd like to partner up with someone who's better than me? Because I have limitations as far as a CEO. I'm not like pool networking and all that. I would love to get, quote unquote, in a relationship in bed with someone else who's bigger than me, can better, so they can reach more people, so I can help more people. Right now, I feel like I need to pass the baton to someone bigger, better, smarter, who can keep the integrity, because no one's going to have the same integrity that the founder does. A CEO, a CFO won't. The founder has a different goal. So I want to keep that goal, keep working with them and take it to the next level, whatever that might be. But I'm always going to be into health, fitness, and longevity, especially as you get older, even more so.
So I'm struggling because we're filming. I'm gonna stop. As a friend, I would push and I'd force you to let's work through this and set a goal, because that would be amazing. But I'm glad you're open enough to admit that you don't have one. I actually was sitting down with a buddy, not a buddy, a friend of mine, and it's not a buddy, it's a woman. She runs a very, very large company in the personal development field. And when we used to be really good friends years ago, I used to have these massive visions, these goals for like very detailed pictures of these places I wanted to be, these giant parties that I wanted to have, these assets that I wanted to have. And then when you attract them into your life, you're like, oh, this is great. Celebrate for a little bit, move on to the next one, and you keep going. So I was on the phone with her and she asked me, what is it? What's next? What's the vision? Like, what are you building? And I was dumbfounded. I'm like, I don't know. And she challenged me. This was not that long ago. So when you said that, I absolutely have. We have targets in the companies every single, like I'm very, very focused on, we meet or exceed our targets every single quarter, if not every week's, so it's important in business, but personally, why we're doing this. Yes, I'm doing it for my kids. I'm doing it for myself. I'm doing it for, because I like building things, but there's no big fun vision. So I went back in my little storehouse of the things that I used to focus on that there's a couple that are not in fruition yet that I haven't achieved, and I pull them forward, and it's a big difference, dude. Like, it feels fun again.
Yeah. Well, when you just said this, I forgot the goal I had.
What was that?
From a long time ago. I wanted like my own quote unquote Howard Stern type thing.
Oh yeah, great.
Right. And then, have like this person over there, like my someone there, and this person doing that. And we would talk about health. But there's three things I've always cared about. And it's just health is number one, and then wealth, and then relationships.
Same here. Those are
the only three things.
Most important three things. Absolutely.
Yeah. So someone talked about, what about this car, that car? I don't know how it works. If I wanted a cool TV, I can ask my brother. He knows everything there is about TV. I don't know why. He's never going to get the cool new TV that's going to be like a 17,000 plasma screen that you can dive into and go virtual, reality. I don't know why he knows about all that stuff. If you want, but those three things is the only thing I care about. So I would love to do this. I would like to have my own show. I'd like to have, people calling in. Growing up, I was listening to always Love Lines by Dr. Drew.
Yeah.
With Adam Carolla. That was a cool thing. I want that, because me interacting, I'm in like my cave, my little bat cave, as my friend, she calls it. I'm working all the time. I don't interact with people as much. And I maybe I'm an introvert or not, but I do enjoy this. And I know this can help out a lot of more people. I would like to have like my own show, like an hour every day, dealing with people calling in. We deal with real issues. I can help them, because no amount of YouTube videos that I make will ever help this back and forth that people have. If someone will ask a question and I give them an answer, what's the 3 best ways to lose weight? I'm like, I give it. You know what? Until you go back and forth and peel the onion, as you stated earlier, and go to the psychology of why something isn't working, nothing will work. Absolutely. No amount of me telling someone do something doesn't work until they do it.
Yeah. And then they do it persistently. So
yes. And again, the big enough why. Look, why is it some people get lung cancer and they still smoke? It's not just some weird addiction. There's some mental thing, and why do so many people self-sabotage themselves with their health, with money, with their relationships? Fix that, and everything else will be so much easier. Because as the saying goes, get out of your own way. Because you keep screwing stuff up. Why do you do it? Some people think they don't deserve it. I think that people are just as much as afraid of success as they might be failure.
Oh my
Don't,
God.
you deserve it, you know? So stop beating yourself up because your mom or dad said something, or some girl said something to you, you know, or these days some idiot is posting something on YouTube. Oh, I don't like your nose, da 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 da. I used to listen and I'm like, what? Oh, so I'm like looking at my nose. Do I need this? I need a nose up. And I'm like, why do I care what some idiot who I don't know is having a bad day or is having a bad life and dumps on me? I would never post something negative. Why is this person doing it? I notice that's them trying to act and not react, because we're not animals. I know it's easy to react, and it's very easy to react when you're angry and short-tempered and you haven't slept enough and your stress levels are high and things aren't going well. Learn to count backwards or take a breath and come from a good place and again, act. And if the only thing is say, hey, thanks, I appreciate it, good luck, that's enough. Better than.
Yeah, and so I'm curious your thought on this, because a lot of what you're saying, which is something we haven't touched on at all, but a lot of what you're saying stems back to personal values. Like understanding what your personal values are then dictate a lot of things. I did a podcast about a year ago, and it was, it got so many comments on it. It was crazy. And I basically said that you know, there's a few key actions that drive growth, and it doesn't make a difference. I shouldn't say that. Depending on where you're going will dictate what those few key actions are. So gaining clarity is the most important thing. When you're clear, then you can set the few key actions, and then you become persistent in doing those few key actions, right? And then when you're persistent in doing those few key actions, success happens. And when it happens, you don't even know what's going to happen. It's like getting hit in the face with a hammer. Like all of a sudden, oh, I'm fucking successful. Like all these things that I was trying to do, like I didn't even realize it. Now I look in my rearview mirror and they're all freaking here, right? And it feels good. You have to allow yourself to feel good about that. But when you reverse engineer that, it comes back to the values, because if those few key actions were against your values, you would have never been persistent and you would have never then had success, right? So it's,
or if you achieved it, you wouldn't have been happy.
Yeah.
You know, fulfillment is something I just learned. You know, if you don't feel good at the end, you know, at the end of the day, it's not what you do, it's who you become, the saying goes. So you want to, like, you know, being a good parent, I find far more valuable than being a good boss, because that child takes on everything else. And by the way, if you're a good parent, you can be a good boss, you can be all this stuff. Take care of the people around you. Well, yeah, we can get a whole deeper level, but yeah.
That's huge. But let's take one quick step back, and because you used a word that I think is important. It's the word fulfilled. And for a long time in my life, I used to do things to be happy. And I think there's a huge difference between happiness and fulfillment. Like a mountain of difference, and most people don't get it. I didn't get it for a long time. Working for happiness is incredibly short term. It's unfulfilling most of the time, right? Because the things that we define as making us feel happy are often things that are just things that we want, as opposed to when you sit back and you've done things that again are based on your values, and you've built something that you're proud of. Now you're fulfilled. Like at the end of my life, hopefully, which is a very, very long time from here, hopefully, I'm going to feel fulfilled. Right? Definitely, I want to feel happy as well, but fulfillment is really a deeper thing to work towards.
You know, one other thing is sometimes reverse engineering things. You might think, you know, I'm here and I want to go there, but sometimes you have to go say, hey, what if I wanted the future? You know, would I be happy where I am?
Yeah.
Like sometimes some guy is like, I'm just going to make as much money as I am, and he's like 65 and he's alone. You don't have to be married and kids to be alone. You can just be alone because you alienated everyone, you stepped on everyone, all that. That's not going to make you who you're like, shit, man, I shouldn't have done that. This isn't what I wanted. So see, if you want to be, you know, who you want to be, 20 years, see where you want to be
Mhm.
and who you want to be, and then reverse engineer that and do that. Okay. If you want to be $100 million guy who's out of shape and alone, well, then just focus on money. But if you're like, nah, that's not what I want, man. Here's what you want. Paint the perfect picture and then go towards that.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you one of those things will be health.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to be like 65-year-old who looks like Arnold when he was 25, but you certainly don't want to be in a wheelchair or stuff like that. So do all that stuff. You want to be kind to people. You don't want to just be a jerk and kick to the side. I don't care what that guy thinks. He's not rich. He's an idiot. No, there's always something special about everybody. Okay. So being fulfilled, honestly, I think just goes down to doing what is going to make you quote unquote in the long term, because happiness is like taking a hit of something. It's a dopamine and it comes down. Honestly, you buying a car makes you happy, buying a new car, but how long does that last? Right. That's why as you get older, sometimes you're not as materialistic when you're a child, because you realize that I didn't do anything. Or you might date like 20 girls and you're like, none of it, you want something of substance, something that can go beyond you.
That's hysterical, because like you and I have something else in common. Like, we don't go to a lot of internet marketing seminars, right? I do go to them sometimes, but only when I'm speaking at them. Like, I've never, out of all the ones that I've ever spoken, I've never seen you in the audience ever, right? But when I'm there, it's hysterical. Like, people are consistently, you could always tell, like the people who are just starting to hit it, like they've got the Rolexes on, drive up in a hot ass car, or they'll brag about the fact that they flew first class, which I'm like, of course. What are you bragging about this for? Or they'll show up and they'll have, like an entourage with them. It's hysterical. And that's very short-term happiness. They're trying to throw money at things to try to look happier. Like, I know a lot of these people. Like, they'll come to me for advice for different things in business, and I'll purposely, like, I see that they're vulnerable and I'll purposely dig. I'll be like, okay, well, give me an idea of what is it that you really want? Like, why do you want to add another million a month or add another million a week to your bottom line? Like, give me an idea. Why do you want to reach this number of people? Why do you want your brand to grow to that level? Like, give me an idea. And the young ones, not age wise, but the ones who are immature in business, a lot of them will just tout off this list of, well, because I want to be in a bigger house. I want to move to this other place. I want to do these other things that you do, or I want to get a jet. A friend of mine got a jet. I want to get a jet. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, man. This is going to be a short conversation because I don't want to have it, right? Because I don't want to sit down with those people and talk about business and fun shit, because they're doing it for the wrong reasons, and it's not something I want to be aligned with.
And part of it is just being insecure.
Yeah.
And at the same time thinking, hey, when I get that, everything will be awesome, bro. The chicks will start coming in, the money, every opportunity. Hey, I got a jet. You got a jet? Shit. All right. Yeah, but I'm like, people don't. Ultimately, no one cares about anyone but themselves. So just, see why you're doing it. That whole insecurity, what are you trying to fix on the inside? That little boy or whatever it might be. Once you fix that guy, he's not going to care about that stuff. Look, I got a friend who's got Lambos, this, that, and the other thing, And like, once he's like, hey, dude, why don't you have a Rolex? I said, I swear to God, dude, I have a Rolex that someone got me, and it's sitting there because it's heavy and I got to constantly wind it. I don't care. And he's like, oh, come on, man. Like, why are you wearing Levi's? I'm like, dude. Like, he's still focused. And by the way, he's a super good looking guy, really smart, and he's making millions, but he keeps like wanting to be flashy. I'm thinking, how is this guy who's so awesome got some weird insecurity to like show off? Like, when he shows up with the Lambo, I'm like, that's annoying people. It's not like cool anymore. Cool when you're 20, but it's like annoying when you're 50.
Yeah, one of the things that I learned a long time ago is that especially where I live right now, which is hysterical, the people with the most amount of money are the ones that are showing up, and they're in their jeans,
Regular. Yeah.
they've got shorts on. I go to a restaurant, I got a pair of shorts on. There's a bunch of other people with shorts on. Then there's people who come in really dressed up. The people who have the shorts or the t-shirt or just a polo, I mean, dressed nice, but not
Yeah.
trying to impress. They're the ones with the most money. Like
Yeah.
they're the ones
Yeah.
that like they don't play at the country club down here. The guy that owns a country club, I'm sitting right
Yeah.
next, and we're having conversations about that business.
Yeah.
It's different. It's fun. But it's a different mindset and completely, and it goes back to fulfillment. Hey, listen, I apologize.
No, this
has
thing is
gone
about to
on-
actually die, my AirPods. So yeah.
This has gone on so long. I enjoyed every second of it. So, but I want to respect your time. Want to release you from this. I had a great conversation. I appreciate it. If somebody wants to get in touch with you, like we didn't pitch you, we didn't promote you. You've got a kick-ass business, a great website, wonderful supplements that I take, which says something because I'm very picky. Where do they find you?
You can just go to healthfitnesslongevity.com. You can, on YouTube, I'm at Dr. Sam Robbins, or you can go to drsamrobbins.com. So I'm around, and maybe in the show notes, we'll put links to whatever you want.
Absolutely.
And again, 20% discount for everyone who likes Chris and gives Chris a thumbs up.
My family, my mother. Yeah.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Sam, thank you so much.